What happens when the fairy tale ends in handcuffs? Elizabeth and Andrei were once the couple fans adored, their chemistry, their journey, their vows. But behind the scenes, a secret romance brewed, a hidden lover, a pregnancy, a betrayal that would shake the very foundation of their marriage. Yes, you heard that right. Elizabeth announced that she was pregnant, but the father was not Andrei Kastrovet. It was Joseph. Joseph was Elizabeth's secret boyfriend. For the past 6 months, Elizabeth had been secretly involved in a romantic relationship with Joseph. Elizabeth clearly told Andrei Kastrovet, "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Joseph's child, and I will only marry Joseph." Hearing these words, Andrei Kastrovet was completely shattered. He could never have imagined such a betrayal. Later, Andrei Kastrovet filed a lawsuit against Elizabeth in court, accusing her of betrayal and financial fraud. Andrei claimed that since Elizabeth conceived Joseph's child while still married to him, by law, Andrei would be considered the legal father of that child. He further claimed that Elizabeth had borrowed $55,000 from him. But when Andrei demanded the money back, Elizabeth denied ever taking it. Andrei Kastrovet's claims were proven true in court. Based on the evidence and testimonies, the court ruled that Elizabeth had indeed broken the law and embezzled $55,000. According to the verdict, Elizabeth was sentenced to 5 months in prison. This isn't just reality TV drama. It's a real-life scandal that spiraled into courtroom battles, financial fraud, and a prison sentence. Was Elizabeth a victim of love or a master manipulator? Let's begin. From the moment Elizabeth Pothast and Andrei Kastrovet appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, fans were captivated. Their story had all the ingredients of a classic romance: cultural differences, passionate arguments, and a love that seemed to defy odds. Elizabeth, the outspoken American with a tight-knit family, met Andrei, the brooding Moldovan with strong opinions and a protective streak. Their relationship was fiery, but it worked, or so it seemed. They married, had a child, and built a life together in Florida. Social media painted a picture of domestic bliss. Elizabeth posted family outings, cozy selfies, and sweet captions. Andrei, though more reserved online, often appeared in her stories, playing with their daughter or grilling in the backyard. But behind the filtered photos and edited clips, cracks were forming. Andrei's struggle to find stable work created tension. Elizabeth's family, especially her sisters, never fully accepted Andrei. Arguments over finances, parenting, and cultural clashes became routine. Yet they stayed together, at least publicly. In interviews, Elizabeth often defended Andrei, calling him misunderstood and loyal. Andrei, in turn, claimed Elizabeth was his rock. Fans believed they were just another couple navigating the ups and downs of marriage. But something was off. Friends noticed Elizabeth becoming distant. She stopped attending family events. Her phone was always in her hand, and she often smiled at messages she wouldn't share. Andrei, meanwhile, grew more controlling, perhaps sensing something was wrong. The tension reached a boiling point when Elizabeth abruptly canceled a planned family vacation, citing personal reasons. Andrei was furious. He accused her of hiding something. She denied it. The truth? Elizabeth wasn't just hiding something, she was hiding someone. Joseph. A man no one knew. A man who would soon turn their world upside down. While Elizabeth and Andrei's relationship played out in the public eye, Joseph remained a ghost in the background. Unseen, unheard, and unknown. But every secret has a heartbeat, and Joseph was the pulse behind Elizabeth's double life. Joseph wasn't just a fling. He was a calculated choice. He met Elizabeth at a local charity gala in Tampa, Florida. While Andrei was out of town visiting family in Moldova, Elizabeth attended the event solo. Joseph, a charismatic entrepreneur with a quiet charm, struck up a conversation. They bonded over shared interests, travel, literature, and a mutual disdain for reality TV drama. What started as innocent texts quickly escalated. Within weeks, they were meeting in private, coffee shops, hotel lounges, even rented Airbnbs. Elizabeth used her work schedule as a cover. Andrei, busy with job interviews and parenting duties, never suspected a thing. Joseph was everything Andrei wasn't. He listened. He didn't argue. He didn't judge. Elizabeth felt seen, not as a wife or mother, but as a woman with dreams and desires. Joseph encouraged her to pursue her own business, offered financial advice, and even helped her design a website for a side hustle. But Joseph had his own secrets. He was recently divorced. His ex-wife accused him of emotional manipulation and financial deceit. He had no children, but he had a history of short-lived relationships. Friends described him as magnetic but slippery. Still, Elizabeth was hooked. She began withdrawing from Andrei emotionally. Their conversations became transactional. She avoided intimacy. Andrei, confused and hurt, blamed stress and family pressure. He never imagined another man was involved. Joseph, meanwhile, grew bolder. He told Elizabeth he loved her. He wanted a future. He even hinted at marriage. Elizabeth, torn between guilt and passion, made a choice, one that would change everything. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. She told Joseph she was ready to leave Andrei. And then she got pregnant. The timing was explosive. Elizabeth was still living with Andrei. They were planning a family trip, but behind closed doors, she was carrying Joseph's child, a child conceived in secrecy, born of betrayal. Joseph didn't flinch. He promised to raise the baby with her. He offered financial support. He even suggested they move to another state to start fresh. Elizabeth agreed, but before she could escape, she had to confront the storm she created. Andrei was about to learn the truth. For 6 months, Elizabeth lived a double life. By day, she was the devoted wife and mother, cooking meals, attending family functions, filming segments for the show. But by night, she was someone else entirely. Someone Joseph knew intimately. Someone who had learned to lie with a smile. It started innocently. A few texts, a coffee date, a shared laugh. But soon, Elizabeth was sneaking out under the guise of errands. She'd tell Andrei she had a late meeting or needed time alone. In reality, she was meeting Joseph in quiet corners of Tampa, places where no one would recognize her. She changed her routines. She stopped posting couple photos. She avoided filming with Andrei unless it was contractually required. Her family noticed the shift, but chalked it up to stress. Andrei, meanwhile, grew increasingly suspicious. He asked questions. She deflected. He checked her phone. She had deleted everything. Elizabeth became a master of compartmentalization. She kept Joseph in a separate world, one untouched by cameras, family, or suspicion. They had inside jokes, secret playlists, and even a shared journal where they wrote letters to each other. It was romantic, it was reckless, and it was dangerous. Joseph, emboldened by Elizabeth's devotion, began pushing for more. He wanted her to leave Andrei. He wanted to go public. Elizabeth hesitated. She feared the backlash from fans, family, and the network. But the more time she spent with Joseph, the more distant Andrei became. Their marriage was unraveling. Arguments erupted over trivial things: groceries, bills, parenting styles. Andrei accused her of emotional detachment. Elizabeth accused him of being controlling. Neither knew how to fix what was broken. Or perhaps, Elizabeth had already decided it couldn't be fixed. She began keeping a secret calendar. Dates with Joseph were marked with symbols. She tracked her cycle. She fantasized about a future without Andrei. A future where she and Joseph could raise a child away from the chaos of reality TV. Then came the moment that changed everything. Elizabeth missed her period. She took a test. It was positive. She didn't tell Andrei. Not yet. She told Joseph first. He was ecstatic. He promised to support her, to be there for every ultrasound, every craving, every mood swing. Elizabeth cried, not out of fear, but out of relief. She had made her choice. But the secret couldn't last forever. Her body began to change. Her moods shifted. Andrei noticed. He asked if she was pregnant. She lied. But the truth was closing in. The walls she had built were crumbling. And then, one evening, she sat Andrei down. She looked him in the eyes, and said the words that would haunt him forever. "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Joseph's child, and I will only marry Joseph." Andrei was speechless. Elizabeth had crossed the point of no return. The truth always finds a way to surface, and for Elizabeth, it came in the form of 2 pink lines. She was pregnant, but not with Andrei's child. For weeks, Elizabeth had hidden the news. She wore loose clothing, avoided intimacy, and dodged questions about her health. Andrei noticed the changes, her mood swings, her sudden aversion to certain foods, her fatigue. He asked if she was okay. She said she was just tired, but the signs were undeniable. One evening, Andrei walked into the bathroom and saw the discarded pregnancy test in the trash. Positive. His heart raced. He confronted Elizabeth immediately. "Are you pregnant?" he asked, voice trembling. Elizabeth froze. She hadn't planned to tell him this way, but the moment had arrived. She sat him down, took a deep breath, and delivered the truth with brutal clarity. "Yes, I'm pregnant, but it's not yours. It's Joseph's." Andrei's world shattered. He stared at her, stunned. The woman he had built a life with, the mother of his child, his partner on national television, had betrayed him in the most intimate way, and not just emotionally. Physically, legally, publicly. Elizabeth didn't cry. She didn't beg. She was calm, almost detached. She told Andrei she had been seeing Joseph for 6 months, that she loved him, that she planned to leave, that she would marry Joseph and raise the baby with him. Andrei couldn't speak. His hands shook. His voice cracked. He asked why. She said she felt suffocated, that Joseph made her feel alive, that their marriage had been broken for a long time. The betrayal was complete. Andrei left the house that night. He drove aimlessly, replaying every moment of their relationship, every sacrifice, every fight. Every time he defended her to her family, it all felt like a lie. Elizabeth, meanwhile, packed a bag and moved into a rental apartment Joseph had secured for her. She didn't look back. She posted a cryptic quote on Instagram. "Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most beautiful destinations." Fans speculated. Rumors swirled. But no one knew the full story. Not yet. Andrei, devastated, began gathering evidence. Texts, financial records, emails. He wasn't just heartbroken. He was angry. And he was about to take the fight to court. But before the legal war began, the emotional wreckage had to settle. Elizabeth's family was divided. Her sisters were furious. Her father was silent. Her mother cried. Andrei's friends rallied around him, calling Elizabeth a traitor and Joseph a homewrecker. The pregnancy bombshell had detonated, and the fallout was just beginning. Andrei Kastrovet had always prided himself on being strong, stoic, a protector. But Elizabeth's confession shattered him in ways he never imagined. The night she told him she was pregnant with Joseph's child, Andrei didn't just lose his wife, he lost his sense of reality. He drove aimlessly through Tampa's quiet streets, replaying her words over and over. "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Joseph's child, and I will only marry Joseph." It felt like a cruel joke, a nightmare he couldn't wake from. How could the woman he loved, the woman he defended against her own family, betray him so deeply? Andrei didn't sleep that night. He sat in his car until sunrise, staring at the dashboard, numb. When he returned home, Elizabeth was gone. Her closet half empty, her toothbrush missing. A note on the kitchen counter read, "I'm sorry, I had to choose myself." He crumpled it without reading the rest. The days that followed were a blur. Andrei stopped filming. He ignored calls from producers. He refused to speak to Elizabeth's family. His daughter, too young to understand, asked where mommy went. Andrei couldn't answer. He spiraled. Friends tried to console him. They brought food, offered support, encouraged therapy. But Andrei wasn't ready to heal. He was consumed by rage, not just at Elizabeth, but at Joseph, at the network, at himself. He began digging. He searched Elizabeth's laptop, her emails, her social media drafts. He found deleted messages, hidden folders, and receipts for hotel stays. The affair had been deeper than he imagined. Joseph had even sent Elizabeth money, disguised as business support. Andrei felt humiliated. But humiliation quickly turned into resolve. He wasn't just going to suffer quietly. He was going to fight back. He contacted a lawyer, explained everything: the affair, the pregnancy, the financial entanglements, the emotional damage. The lawyer listened carefully, then asked a question that changed the course of Andrei's grief. Did she borrow money from you during the marriage? Andrei blinked. Yes, $55,000 for her business. She promised to pay it back. The lawyer leaned forward. Did she put that in writing? Andrei nodded. I have the texts, the bank transfers, everything. That was the turning point. Andrei wasn't just a betrayed husband. He was a victim of financial fraud. And under Florida law, if Elizabeth conceived a child while still married to Andrei, he could be considered the legal father, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. It was time to take the fight to court. Andrei filed a lawsuit against Elizabeth, accusing her of betrayal, emotional distress, and financial embezzlement. He demanded repayment of the $55,000 and sought legal clarification on the paternity of the unborn child. The media caught wind of the story. Headlines exploded. 90-day fiancé star files lawsuit against pregnant wife over affair and fraud. Elizabeth, now visibly pregnant and living with Joseph, was forced to respond publicly. She denied the financial claims. She called Andrei vindictive. But the evidence was mounting, and the court date was set. Andrei had transformed from broken husband to fierce litigant. He wasn't just seeking justice. He was seeking redemption. The courtroom was still weeks away, but the emotional trial had already begun. Andrei hadn't spoken to Elizabeth since the night she confessed. His texts went unanswered, his calls ignored. The woman who once shared his bed, his child, and his dreams had vanished into a new life, one built with Joseph. But Andrei wasn't done. He needed closure, answers, a final reckoning. He requested a meeting through her lawyer. Elizabeth agreed, reluctantly. They met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe tucked away from prying eyes and paparazzi. No cameras, no producers, just two people whose lives had been torn apart. Elizabeth arrived first. She looked different, calmer, more confident. Her pregnancy was visible now, a small curve beneath her coat. Andrei walked in, tense, eyes burning with questions. They sat across from each other, silence. Andrei broke it. I loved you, he said, voice low. I gave you everything. Why? Elizabeth didn't flinch. Because I was drowning, she replied. And you didn't see me. Andrei leaned forward. I saw you. I fought for you. I defended you against your family, against the world. You defended your version of me, she said. Not the woman I was becoming. Andrei's jaw clenched. So you chose Joseph? I chose myself, she said. Joseph just happened to be there when I did. The words stung. Andrei felt the air leave his lungs. He had come for answers, but every sentence felt like a dagger. He pulled out a folder, bank statements, text screenshots, transfer receipts. You borrowed $55,000 from me, he said. You said it was for your business. You promised to pay it back. Elizabeth glanced at the papers. I never signed anything. But you agreed. Andrei snapped. You said you would. I have the messages. Elizabeth sighed. I'll let the court decide. Andrei's hands trembled. You betrayed me. You lied. You cheated. And now you're walking away like you're the victim. I didn't ask to be your enemy, she said softly. But I won't be your prisoner either. The cafe grew quiet again. Outside, rain began to fall. Inside, two people sat in the ruins of their love. Andrei stood up. You'll regret this. Elizabeth looked up. Maybe, but I'll regret staying more. He walked away. That was the last time they spoke face to face. Elizabeth returned to Joseph's apartment. She cried that night, not for Andrei, but for the life she had burned to build a new one. Andrei, meanwhile, doubled down on his lawsuit. He wasn't just seeking justice, he was seeking vindication. The confrontation had ended. But the war was just beginning. When love dies, sometimes the courtroom becomes its grave. Andrei Kastrovet wasn't just heartbroken. He was furious. Elizabeth's betrayal had left emotional scars, but it was the financial dissection that pushed him over the edge. The $55,000 he had loaned her, money meant to support her business, their future, had vanished. And now, she was pregnant with another man's child. He wanted justice. Andrei's legal team filed a civil lawsuit against Elizabeth, accusing her of financial fraud, emotional distress, and breach of marital trust. The documents were airtight. Bank transfers, text messages, emails, all pointing to a clear agreement that Elizabeth would repay the money. But she hadn't, and now she denied ever borrowing it. The lawsuit made headlines. Tabloids exploded with speculation. 90-day fiancé star accused of embezzling $55,000 from husband. Pregnancy scandal turns into courtroom showdown. Elizabeth, now visibly pregnant and living with Joseph, was forced to respond. Her lawyer issued a statement claiming the money was a gift, not a loan. They painted Andrei as a controlling husband trying to punish her for leaving. But the evidence told a different story. Andrei's team presented screenshots of Elizabeth acknowledging the debt. One message read, "I'll pay you back once the business takes off. I promise." Another showed her thanking him for believing in her dream. The court wasn't just interested in the money. There was another twist: paternity. Under Florida law, if a woman conceives a child while married, her husband is presumed to be the legal father. Andrei's lawyers argued that this legal presumption could entangle him in custody and financial obligations for a child that wasn't biologically his. It was a nightmare scenario. Elizabeth's team pushed back, insisting Joseph was the father and that Andrei had no claim. But the law was murky. The judge ordered a paternity test, not just to clarify custody, but to determine legal responsibility. The courtroom was tense. Elizabeth appeared composed, dressed modestly, her baby bump visible. Andrei looked hardened, his eyes cold, his posture rigid. Joseph sat in the back, silent, avoiding eye contact. Testimonies were emotional. Andrei spoke of betrayal, of sleepless nights, of watching his daughter ask where her mother went. Elizabeth spoke of feeling trapped, of finding love in unexpected places, of wanting to move on. But the financial evidence was damning. The judge reviewed the transfers, the messages, and the timeline. Elizabeth had indeed borrowed the money. Her denial was contradicted by her own words. The ruling was swift. Elizabeth was found guilty of financial misconduct. She was ordered to repay the $55,000 and sentenced to 5 months in prison for embezzlement. The court also ruled that Andrei was not the legal father of the unborn child, relieving him of any parental obligations. The verdict sent shockwaves through the fanbase. Elizabeth's image crumbled. Sponsors pulled out. Her social media went dark. Joseph remained silent. Andrei, though vindicated, didn't celebrate. He simply walked out of the courtroom, a man who had lost everything but his dignity. In every scandal, there's a number that changes everything. For Elizabeth and Andrei, that number was $55,000. It wasn't just money. It was trust. It was a promise. And it became the centerpiece of a legal war that blurred the lines between love and fraud. The story began months before the affair was exposed. Elizabeth had approached Andrei with a business idea, a boutique online platform for lifestyle coaching and digital content. She was passionate, persuasive, and confident. Andrei, wanting to support her dreams, agreed to help fund it. He transferred $55,000 from their joint savings into her personal account. No formal contract, just a series of texts and verbal assurances. Elizabeth promised to repay the money once the business took off. Andrei believed her. After all, they were married, partners, a team. But the business never launched. Instead, Elizabeth's focus shifted to Joseph. Andrei noticed the change. The website remained unfinished. The branding stalled. Elizabeth stopped discussing strategy. When he asked about the money, she brushed him off, saying she needed time. But time turned into silence. After the affair was revealed, Andrei demanded repayment. Elizabeth denied ever borrowing the money. She claimed it was a gift, support from a husband to his wife. But Andrei had the receipts, bank transfers, screenshots of their conversations, even a voice memo where Elizabeth said, "I'll pay you back once things stabilize." The contradiction was glaring. In court, Elizabeth's legal team argued that marital finances are often fluid, that spouses routinely share money without formal agreements. But Andrei's team countered with a timeline that painted a different picture. The money was transferred weeks before Elizabeth began seeing Joseph. She used part of it to rent private spaces for their secret meetings. She made purchases unrelated to the business, designer clothes, luxury skincare, and travel expenses. The judge reviewed the evidence carefully. It wasn't just about the money. It was about intent. Did Elizabeth knowingly deceive Andrei? Did she manipulate their marriage to fund a separate life with Joseph? Witnesses were called. One of Elizabeth's former friends testified that Elizabeth had confided in her about the money, saying she wasn't sure she'd ever pay it back, and that Andrei owed her for putting up with his controlling behavior. That testimony sealed the case. The court ruled in Andrei's favor. Elizabeth was found guilty of financial misconduct and ordered to repay the full $55,000. But the damage went beyond the verdict. Elizabeth's reputation crumbled. Fans who once admired her turned away. Her social media was flooded with backlash. Sponsors dropped her. Joseph remained silent, refusing interviews. Andrei, though vindicated, didn't gloat. He simply said, "I trusted her. She broke that trust. The court gave me justice. That's enough." The $55,000 was more than a financial dispute. It was the price of betrayal. Fans, reporters, and even former castmates of 90 Day Fiancé filled the gallery, eager to witness the spectacle. What had started as a private betrayal had become a public reckoning. Andrei Castrovet versus Elizabeth Pothast, a battle of love, lies, and $55,000. The judge entered. Cameras were banned, but the tension was cinematic. Andrei sat stiffly beside his attorney, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the witness stand. Elizabeth, visibly pregnant, sat across the room with her legal team. Her expression was unreadable, part defiant, part exhausted. Joseph was nowhere to be seen. The proceedings began with financial testimony. Andrei's lawyer presented a timeline of bank transfers, text messages, and voice memos. The evidence painted a clear picture. Elizabeth had requested $55,000 for a business venture, promised repayment, and then used the funds for personal expenses, including travel and accommodations linked to her affair with Joseph. Elizabeth's team countered with emotional appeals. They argued that the money was a marital gift, that Andrei had never demanded repayment until after the affair was exposed. They portrayed him as vindictive, using the lawsuit to punish her for leaving. But the facts were hard to ignore. A key moment came when Andrei's lawyer played a voice memo from Elizabeth, recorded months before the affair was revealed. "I know it's a lot of money, but I swear I'll pay you back once the site launches. I just need time." The courtroom fell silent. Elizabeth's lawyer objected, but the judge allowed it. The memo was authentic. The promise was real. Then came the paternity debate. Under Florida law, a child conceived during marriage is presumed to be the husband's. Andrei's team argued that this legal presumption could entangle him in custody and financial obligations for a child that wasn't his. Elizabeth's team insisted Joseph was the biological father and that Andrei had no claim. The judge ordered a paternity test. It confirmed what everyone suspected: Joseph was the father. But the legal implications were murky. Andrei had already been listed on preliminary hospital documents as the father, a technicality that could have long-term consequences. The court ruled to remove his name and absolve him of parental responsibility. Then came the testimonies. Elizabeth's former friend took the stand. She testified that Elizabeth had confided in her about the money, saying she wasn't sure she'd ever pay it back, and that Andrei owed her for putting up with his controlling behavior. Andrei's sister-in-law testified about Elizabeth's sudden withdrawal from family events, her secretive behavior, and her unexplained absences. The judge listened carefully. After 3 days of testimony, the verdict was delivered. Elizabeth was found guilty of financial misconduct. She was ordered to repay the $55,000 and sentenced to 5 months in prison. The courtroom erupted, some in shock, others in vindication. Elizabeth didn't cry. She stood, nodded, and walked out with her lawyer. Her future with Joseph was uncertain. Her public image was in ruins. But she had made her choice, and now she would live with the consequences. Andrei, though victorious, didn't smile. He simply whispered to himself, "It's over." After days of testimony, cross-examinations, and emotional revelations, the judge was ready to deliver the verdict. Elizabeth sat with her hands folded over her pregnant belly, her face pale but composed. Andrei, seated across the aisle, stared straight ahead. No emotion, no movement, just waiting. The air was thick with anticipation. The judge began with the financial charges. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank transfers, voice memos, text messages, and witness testimony all confirmed that Elizabeth had borrowed $55,000 from Andrei under the promise of repayment. Her denial had crumbled under scrutiny. The ruling was clear. Elizabeth was found guilty of financial misconduct and embezzlement. She was ordered to repay the full amount and sentenced to 5 months in prison. The courtroom gasped. Even those who had followed the drama closely hadn't expected jail time. Elizabeth didn't flinch. She nodded slowly, as if she had already prepared herself for this moment. Her lawyer placed a hand on her shoulder. Joseph was absent, again. The man she had risked everything for wasn't there to witness her fall. Then came the paternity ruling. The judge acknowledged that under Florida law, a child conceived during marriage is presumed to be the husband's. However, the court had reviewed the paternity test results, which confirmed Joseph as the biological father. Andrei was legally absolved of any parental responsibility. It was a bittersweet victory. Andrei had fought for justice, and he had won. But the cost was steep. His marriage was destroyed. His reputation had been dragged through the mud. His daughter had lost her mother to scandal, and the child Elizabeth carried, though not his, would forever be a reminder of the betrayal. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Elizabeth exited with her lawyer, shielding her face from cameras. Her once glamorous image was gone. The confident influencer, the reality TV star, the woman who had captivated audiences, now reduced to headlines about fraud and infidelity. Andrei declined interviews. He returned home quietly, greeted by his daughter and a few close friends. He didn't celebrate. He didn't post. He simply said, "It's over. I'm moving forward." Elizabeth's prison sentence began 2 weeks later. She was granted medical accommodations due to her pregnancy, but the stigma remained. Her social media accounts were deactivated. Sponsorships vanished. Fan pages turned into forums of criticism. Joseph remained silent, refusing to speak publicly or defend her. The fall was complete. Elizabeth had gambled everything: her marriage, her reputation, her freedom, for a love that now seemed distant and uncertain. Whether Joseph would stay by her side was unknown. Whether she would rebuild her life after prison was unclear. But one thing was certain: the verdict had been delivered, and the story that began with a secret affair had ended with a prison sentence and a shattered legacy. Elizabeth Potthast, once a reality TV darling, now wore a beige jumpsuit and carried a prison-issued blanket. Her 5-month sentence had begun. No cameras, no filters, no Joseph, just cold concrete, fluorescent lights, and the echo of choices she couldn't undo. She was assigned to a low-security women's facility in Florida, given her pregnancy and non-violent charges. But even here, the walls whispered. Inmates recognized her. Some mocked her. Others were curious. A few offered sympathy. But Elizabeth wasn't here to make friends. She was here to survive. Her first week was brutal. The food was bland. The beds were stiff. The routine was relentless. Wake up at 5 a.m. Roll call, chores, meals, lights out. No privacy. No comfort. Just time. Endless time to think. And Elizabeth thought. She thought about Andrei, the man she once loved, the man she betrayed. She thought about her daughter, who now asked questions Elizabeth couldn't answer. She thought about Joseph, who had gone silent since the sentencing. No visits, no letters, no promises. Was he overwhelmed, embarrassed, regretful? She didn't know. Elizabeth spent her days reading, journaling, and attending prenatal care sessions. The prison had a small medical wing, and she was monitored closely. Her pregnancy was progressing normally, but emotionally, she was unraveling. She cried often, in the shower, in her bunk, during quiet hours. Not just from guilt, but from isolation. The woman who once lived for attention now had none. The influencer had become invisible. Her family visited once. Her mother brought clothes for the baby. Her sisters were cold. Her father didn't come. Andrei, of course, stayed away. He had moved on, quietly, privately, with dignity. Elizabeth respected that. She didn't expect forgiveness. She wasn't sure she deserved it. But prison changed her. She began attending group therapy. She listened to stories of addiction, abuse, abandonment. She shared her own. The pressure of fame, the cracks in her marriage, the thrill of forbidden love. She didn't excuse her actions, she'd owned them. "I destroyed something beautiful," she said once, "and I don't know if I'll ever rebuild it." The other women nodded. They understood regret. As her due date approached, Elizabeth was transferred to a medical facility for delivery. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Joseph was listed as the father, but he didn't show up. Elizabeth named the child alone. She held him, cried, and whispered, "I'll do better for you." After 2 weeks of postpartum care, she returned to prison with her son. The facility allowed newborns to stay for a limited time. Elizabeth cherished every moment, feeding, rocking, singing lullabies. It was the only light in her otherwise dark sentence. And then, the countdown began. 5 months, 150 days, each one a lesson, each one a reminder. Elizabeth wasn't just serving time, she was facing herself. Elizabeth Parthast walked out of prison with her newborn son in her arms and a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. The Florida sun was warm, but the world felt cold. No cameras, no fanfare, just silence. She had served her sentence, but the real punishment was just beginning. Her reputation was in ruins. Once a beloved reality TV star, Elizabeth was now a cautionary tale. The woman who betrayed her husband, embezzled $55,000, and gave birth to another man's child while behind bars. Her social media remained deactivated. Her brand deals were gone. Her name, once trending for glamour, now trended for scandal. Joseph was waiting outside the prison gates. He looked nervous, unsure. He held a car seat and a bouquet of flowers. Elizabeth smiled faintly, but the warmth between them had faded. Prison had changed her. Motherhood had changed her. And Joseph, well, he hadn't been there when she needed him most. They drove in silence. Back at the apartment, Elizabeth unpacked slowly. Her son cried. Joseph tried to help, but Elizabeth was distant. She didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She simply moved like someone who had learned to expect disappointment. Days turned into weeks. Elizabeth tried to rebuild. She applied for jobs, attended therapy, and joined a support group for formerly incarcerated women. She spoke candidly about her mistakes, not to gain sympathy, but to find healing. She admitted to the affair, the lies, the money. She didn't blame Andrei. She didn't blame Joseph. She blamed herself. Andrei, meanwhile, had moved on. He focused on his daughter, his career, and his peace. He declined interviews, avoided drama, and refused to speak publicly about Elizabeth. But privately, he had forgiven her. Not for her sake, but for his own. He understood that holding on to anger was its own prison. Elizabeth reached out once. She sent a letter, no apologies, just reflections. She wrote, "I broke something sacred. I don't expect you to forget, but I hope you find happiness. I'm trying to find mine." Andrei never replied. The public remained divided. Some fans believed Elizabeth deserved a second chance. Others called her manipulative, selfish, irredeemable. She ignored the noise. She focused on her son, feeding him, reading to him, singing lullabies. He became her anchor, her reason. Joseph drifted. He struggled with the pressure, the scrutiny, the reality of fatherhood. Eventually, he moved out. Elizabeth didn't fight it. She had learned that love without loyalty was just a performance. Months later, Elizabeth launched a podcast. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't monetized. It was raw, honest. She called it Unfiltered. Each episode explored a chapter of her life: the marriage, the affair, the prison, the pain. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She'd asked for understanding. Slowly, listeners returned. In the end, this wasn't just a story about a failed marriage. It was a story about identity, about choices, about the cost of secrets. Elizabeth Podcast went from reality TV sweetheart to scandalized inmate. Andrei transformed from devoted husband to courtroom warrior. Joseph, the man in the shadows, sparked a chain reaction that tore through families, reputations, and futures. But beyond the headlines, beyond the drama, lies a deeper question. What is the price of freedom when it's bought with betrayal? Elizabeth chose herself. Andrei chose justice. Joseph chose silence. And the audience? We watched it all unfold, wondering if the love we saw on screen was ever real or just another scripted illusion. So now, we turn to you. Final questions for the audience. Can love survive when built on lies? Was Elizabeth a villain or a woman reclaiming her voice? Is Andrei's pursuit of justice noble or vengeful? And in the world of reality TV, where does the performance end and the truth begin? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your take. More update. 90-Day Fiance. Elizabeth breaks silence to address drama after tense confrontation with Lauren and Yara. Lauren Brovanik selling Elizabeth's gift for money, saying good riddance after friendship ended. Elizabeth receives backlash for being a mean and self-absorbed person. And Elizabeth and Andrei spoil Yara's launch party after their explosive clash with Lauren and Andrei. I will explain everything. After an on-screen altercation with Yara and Lauren, Elizabeth Castrovet, who plays Libby on 90-Day Fiance, addressed the viewer's outcry. Shortly after the argument, she tried to make amends with Lauren, but Andrei leaked their hidden messages. Still, she's in hot water once more. Yara questioned Lauren on a recent episode of Happily Ever After Season 9. Lauren has been making fun of Elizabeth's style behind her back, according to Elizabeth, who told Yara this. Fights broke out between Yara and Lauren because Yara was angry with Lauren. Since Yara had already revealed Andrei's secret about Moldova, Libby felt compelled to destroy their friendship. Contrarily, Lauren has stated that she is in touch with one good friend, Yara, and not Libby. In the face of internet hate, did Libby take action? Can she unite them? In 90-Day Fiance, Happily Ever After, Lauren Brovanik and Elizabeth had a tense relationship, in the same way that Lauren had no trouble reconnecting with Yara. Libby was unable to do the same since she had betrayed her confidence. Lauren and Yara became close after Libby began spreading rumors about Yara, which accelerated the escalation of the situation. Libby appears to have been cut off from Yara and Lauren's lives. Because of this, Lauren had no qualms about selling the present she had gotten from a long-gone friend. Since her best buddy is no longer in her life, she said on her Instagram story that she wants to get rid of the flowered shirt. Without giving much consideration to the consequences, she took the daring step. A note on the 90-Day Fiance drama eruption was sent by Elizabeth Castrovet, shocking viewers. Suddenly, she was quite active on Instagram stories after the new episode of Happily Ever After aired. The constant barrage of demeaning comments made about her on social media probably got to her. It is, after all, a TV show, she informed the viewers. Because Elizabeth intentionally made cruel remarks toward Yara, that episode has shown her as a real double-edged monster. Because Lauren made fun of her ugly appearance, she felt bad for her. Since all the beloved couples from the franchise were up to cause mayhem for the cameras, fans of the franchise wondered if the friend group plots were staged. The manufactured nature of the TLC series may have been Libby's motivation for suggesting that she felt compelled to be dramatic around Yara and Lauren. Many may take her statements at face value, but she has never admitted that the plot was all an elaborate hoax. Furthermore, she made no assertion about acting out, so the speculation may end there. It got too much when several admirers criticized Libby online, calling her a nasty, self-centered lady. They blamed her for starting the argument. Her manipulative behavior revealed her true colors, they said. Despite their kindness and compassion, she was said to be cruel to her girlfriends. Is Libby's most recent remark something you can get behind? Lauren Brovanik selling Elizabeth's gift for money? Saying good riddance after friendship ended? Lauren Brovanik, star of 90 Day Fiance, is no longer friends with Elizabeth, often known as Libby. For a present she got from her, she held a sale. During season 9 of Happily Ever After, the two wives' husbands were the source of much contention. They were all trying to be kind to each other, but Yara and Jovi ruined everything. The mayhem began at Lauren's housewarming and continued all the way to Yara's launch party. The news that Elizabeth had discussed Alexei's body shaming with her was relayed to Alexei by Andrei, much to Lauren's chagrin. It was hard for the women to believe that Libby's husband had snooped on her phone and read her texts. It didn't convince Lauren that her friend hadn't told him the truth. What was it that Lauren sold that Libby gave her as a gift? On 90 Day Fiance, Lauren Brovanik has put his trust in Elizabeth the Greatest, although Elizabeth has faced Lauren on more than one time. She made a point of saying that she is no longer the same girl who supported her when Andrei shamed her. She was very critical of her for starting all the trouble. As a group, the reality stars shamed each other for being nasty. Many viewers wanted to know if Elizabeth and Lauren were still friends after their disagreement. Despite her claims that Libby is no longer her friend, she maintained her friendship with Yara. When their favorite cast members were furious with one another, many fans felt bad for them. They were all willing to compromise, but none of them actually did so. Since Lauren confided in Libby about her private life, the majority of online users took her side. The most recent Instagram story from Lauren Brovanik, in which she offered a shirt for sale, caused quite a stir. In the caption, the 90 Day Fiance star revealed that the item had been a long-time gift from a dear friend or family member. She had to get rid of the item quickly because she broke up with one of her best pals. The audience was astounded by Lauren's nuanced portrayal of Elizabeth. After believing her to be trustworthy for a long time, her buddy has finally showed her true colors, she added. Without mentioning or labeling Libby, Alexei's wife criticized the clothing, saying it brought back bad memories of their feuds. Having it removed from her was a relief. A lot of people were confused about whether it was Elizabeth or Yara. Yara is the one who remains by her side, as Lauren has revealed. Hence, the girl gang's expulsion must have been Elizabeth's doing. While Yara and Lauren are still following one another on social media, Libby and Lauren have already unfollowed each other, according to a critic. Unlike Libby, the fans couldn't stand it when Lauren made things worse. Someone even went so far as to say that the former should just pretend to be innocent till she grows up. To be less clingy and compulsive, another person advised her to attend therapy. Some of Libby's backers also rushed to defend her, claiming that she was rightfully spit upon. How do you feel about Lauren's decision to take action against Libby? Elizabeth Castravet receives backlash for being a mean and self-absorbed person. Former contestant on 90 Day Fiance, a great deal of criticism is directed on Elizabeth Castravet due to her dubious actions. Fans are truly unimpressed by her, and she has once again caused controversy with her overly theatrical nature. Once again, the TLC star dumped Lauren and spoke trash about her. The root of the problem has been revealed to the fans at last. Critics have called the Native American the most self-absorbed and mean person they've ever encountered. Happily Ever After's current season features Libby and Lauren's conflict. The fact that she confided in Alexei betrayed her best friend's trust. As usual, the TLC star's heinous actions are causing a commotion. On the other hand, Libby's terrible performance has made fans unhappy. Why was she so busy? Then why are her admirers being so critical of her? Elizabeth Castravet and Lauren Brovanik have had a tense relationship since 90 Day Fiancé. The two have been making efforts to reconcile and re-establish their friendship. Libby seemed to have taken matters into her own hands as of late. As the season progressed, Yara and Lauren grew closer. The former had had enough of her pal's constant bickering. Lily recently attempted to spill the beans to Yara about Lauren. After working with her, Yara came to think of her co-star as a close friend. "I was going to keep quiet, but she used to say things like 'Miami got to your head,' and she would make derogatory remarks about your clothing," Libby explained. Because Yara had never expected Lauren to say anything like that, she was taken aback. She went after the second one as well, accusing them of spreading false information. On the show, Elizabeth Castrovet revealed her real colors. Due to her troublesome conduct, she stirred the pot once more. The reality TV personality falsely accused Lauren of making fun of Yara's appearance. How Libby stooped so low to exact her vengeance was beyond the comprehension of her fans. Someone on Reddit blamed her for starting the whole mess. "I honestly believe she's put her husband up to half the shit he's said and done this season. She's become 10 times worse than him," the OP stated. The admirer thinks Castrovet's true colors emerged when she accused her of being unorganized and manipulative. The star of 90 Day Fiancé was the target of numerous fan complaints about how awful she was. "The person who starts all the fires and talks all the trash is her," according to one fan. When Libby attempted to trash talk Yara, another user commended her for standing firm and not spreading rumors about Lauren. The fact that she challenged her co-star and didn't believe everything made them happy. The reality TV personality went so far as to say that she would believe it if Libby did as well. Some viewers accused Elizabeth of being deceitful and untrustworthy. In doing so, they wish Yara to see her genuine self. As Lauren has previously mentioned, she and Libby are no longer friends. "She came from a very dramatic family," another person commented. "When it comes to drama, she is completely at ease." A few viewers also believe that Libby was envious of Yara's friendship designation of Lauren. Elizabeth and Andrei spoil Yara's launch party after their explosive clash with Lauren and Alexei. On Happily Ever After, Yara Zaya was thrilled to introduce her line of pet accessories. At the launch party, she hoped that her co-stars, Libby, Andrei, Lauren, and Alexei, would lend their support. The 90 Day Fiancé star anticipated some special times with them, but things became messy when Andrei and Elizabeth got into a heated argument with Lauren and Alexei. The pair ruined their friend's special occasion by fighting at the party. After all the chaos, Yara sobbed as she left the party. She believed that her co-stars shouldn't have attended the party and regretted inviting them. At Lauren and Alexei's housewarming party, Elizabeth and Andrei followed suit. Fans increasingly question why they are unable to separate their problems from other people's joys. Every pleasant event is being transformed into a dramatic session by the reality TV stars. How does it make Yara feel? What happened? On season 9, Lauren and Alexei wanted to enjoy their new house with their co-stars. They welcomed Lauren, Alexei, Jovi, and Yara for some enjoyable times. In order to celebrate with their close relatives and friends, the 90 Day Fiancé pair also hosted a little housewarming party. However, Libby and Andrei caused drama at the celebration by bringing up their personal problems. When Alexei and Lauren brought up Castrovet's domineering behavior, they got into a fight. He also referred to Lauren's friend as a dog following their heated confrontation. When his co-stars criticized Andrei for pressuring his wife to go to Moldova, he threw a fit. He got into a fight during the party. Libby stood by her husband through all of the spats. She thought her friend had gone too far and didn't agree with everything Lauren said to him. On Happily Ever After, Elizabeth and Andrei have been causing drama all the time. On the episode, they have a lot of problems to cope with. The TLC celebrities have returned from their tour to Moldova. Yara and Jovi invited Libby and Andrei to their party. However, the former required to discuss all she said about her husband behind their back with Lauren. "I have heard through the grapevine that you believe my husband is a terrible person," she continued. The 90-Day Fiancé star found it incomprehensible that on a double date, people have nothing else to talk about. But according to Lauren, she didn't label him a bad person. She believes that all she said was that his actions were terrible. However, according to the TLC personality, Libby's spouse is a D. When Elizabeth heard all of this, she was shocked. Later, when Andrei confronted Alexei about the same, things became more messy. Additionally, he acknowledged that he had read every conversation between Lauren and his wife. He was criticized by the TLC personality for body-shaming his wife. The fact that Libby revealed all of her secrets to her husband and exposed herself in front of Alexei astounded Lauren. She believed it might potentially destroy her marriage. The amount of drama at her celebration annoyed Yara. She was shocked that her buddies had wrecked her work party, according to Access Hollywood. Who does that? The TLC personality questioned as she sobbed as she left the celebration. Zaya believed they shouldn't have come and regretted asking all four of them. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.